With Luocha's banner comes Yukong's release, and she's easily an S tier buffer unit that can rival TINGYUN. Can you believe they're giving her away for free? I can predict that lots of people are going to think whether she's better or stronger than TINGYUN, so this video will be able to pinpoint when and where you want either unit. First off, let's talk about investment. Yukong only needs levels and traces to function, since her attack percent buff from her skill and crit boost from her ultimate doesn't scale off her own stats like TINGYUN. If you haven't built either character, then Yukong will be easier to build off the ground, since TINGYUN's skill buffs a single ally's attack with her own attack. TINGYUN's skill lasts 3 turns, while Yukong's attack percent buff and crit boost barely even lasts 1 turn. In fact, her skill and ultimate only buffs the next 2 allies that act, so it's not even a full rotation. For personal damage, Yukong's talent increases her basic attack damage and breaks toughness twice as fast. Yukong's ultimate also deals quite a hefty amount of damage, but TINGYUN can make up for it with her benediction, which enhances an ally's attacks with electro damage. Now this is a little off topic, but I suggest that you build defensive stats on your supports. Yukong's base defense is 374, which is lower than TINGYUN's 396. But, you know, let's be honest, both of them have abysmal defense, and I unironically push for people to build def and HP substats on their supports, since you can't have any downed units in Memory of Chaos if you want to 3-star it. Yeah, sure, you lose like 2 to 3% damage output, but it's better than having your squishy supports get one-shot by a single attack. Oh, and keep in mind, if you have shields on your team, def is more valuable than HP, since each point of def makes the shield they receive stronger. I could get into the math, but I feel like that's bad for viewer attention. Speaking about viewers, only 90% of you are subscribed, so if you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Thanks. Yukong brings some problems to team building with speed tweaking. Since Yukong's attack percent buff from Roaring Bowstring only benefits the next 2 allies that act, you have to tweak your team's speed in a way that your carry and sub-carry go right after Yukong, so that your healer doesn't waste a charge of Roaring Bowstring. This becomes even more cumbersome with other speed buffs like Qingque's 3rd trace and Dunhung's 2nd trace. So for example, in this team, you want Yukong to go first, then Dunhung, and then TINGYUN so that Natasha doesn't eat a charge of Roaring Bowstring. You also want to keep Yukong's speed high enough so that when Dunhung procs his trace, he doesn't go before Yukong. You can also opt for slow Yukong and put her at the last of the turn order. Then have your 2 DPSs go first and second, then your healer goes third. This way you don't have to invest speed into Yukong, and you're probably going to invest speed on your DPS units anyway. For the first round, you can use Yukong's talent, which provides 2 Roaring Bowstrings at the start of combat to make up for her going last. Now let's compare the buffs they give. TINGYUN gives energy, damage percent, and attack percent, while Yukong gives attack percent and crit damage and rate. Keep in mind that you have to time Yukong's skill with her ultimate for her to actually give the crit boost to her allies, so that you don't waste your ult for nothing. Yukong's attack percent buff is a little stronger than TINGYUN's, and her crit damage and rate boost are roughly worth more than TINGYUN's damage percent buff, and will even be better the more crit rate the buffed units have from relics and whatnot. With this, you'd be inclined to believe that Yukong is better than TINGYUN, in which, yeah, her buffs are more potent than TINGYUN's, but they last for such a short time, and she eats so many skill points during it. You know what they say? Burn bright, burn quick. TINGYUN's advantage is that her buffs last for longer, and she gives energy to units which are crucial for ultimate dependent carries like Dunhung. Not to mention that Yukong's Roaring Bowstring doesn't even proc Dunhung's talent. My conclusion is that Yukong is better in some aspects, TINGYUN isn't completely power crept just yet, and nothing is stopping you from running both of them on the same team. Now let's transition this into a guide video about Yukong. For combat traces, you should prioritize her skill and ultimate, since they're the main reason you want to use Yukong in the first place. Then, you upgrade her basic and then talent if you want to increase her personal damage. They're very low priority though. The best light cones on her are Memories of the Past for break effect and energy regen, Carve the Moon is generally good on all Harmony units, and Past and Future is her dedicated 4-star light cone, but the others are arguably better than it. For relics, you should get the 4-piece Musketeer of Wadweed for the speed and basic attack damage. And for the planar ornaments, you should get Fleet of the Ageless to increase her supportive abilities. For the main stat of the body, you want to give her def percent or HP percent for survivability, but you could also get crit rate or damage if you really wanted to. For her feet, you want to get speed boots, and for the sphere, you want to take def percent or HP percent or even imaginary damage percent. For the link rope, you take energy regen. Yukong can build damage since her ultimate does a chunky amount of damage and her basics actually deal damage due to her talent. For the substats, you want to prioritize speed, def percent, HP percent. If you want to increase her damage, you can go for crit rate and damage as well as break effect. For her rotations, I recommend you go the skill point neutral route and alternate between her skill and basics so that you won't be eating your team's skill points. For team building, she's super flexible and can fit in any team honestly. There's not much restrictions to her team building other than the speed tweaking that I spoke about a while ago. For her bonus ability from Traces, Archerion lets her resist debuffs every 2 turns, which is pretty nice since there's lots of debuffs being thrown around in MOC, whether it be dots or stun. Bowmaster increases all imaginary damage dealt by allies by 12%, which is great when synergizing with Wealth and lots of upcoming imaginary units. And finally, Majestus gives her 2 energy for each action an ally takes. Keep in mind that this means normal turns count, ultimates count, and also Chinchue's skill spam counts. This is nice since it can range from generating her 4 to 14 energy. Since you get Yukong for free, you don't have to suffer through hoping to pull her through Luocha's banner, but just in case you want eidolons, her E1 increases her ally speed by 10% at the start of combat. It's minuscule, but makes sure you get the first strike in combat. Her E2 greatly increases her energy regeneration, and I think this is the chase eidolon for Yukong. Her E4 increases her damage when Roaring Bowstring is active. It's a little minor, but if you're building her for damage, then this is pretty good, I guess. And finally, her E6 effectively removes the need to time her ultimate with her skill, since she gives herself a stack of Roaring Bowstring when she uses ultimate. Tingyun is better if you've only got one carry in your team, and if they're ultimate dependent, like Sila, Dunhung, or Jingwan. But if you have a carry and the sub DPS, then Yukong will most likely be better, such as with units like Qingchue, Sushang, and Luocha. Overall, she's a solid F2P unit, and you should build her if you can flex her into your teams. You also don't need good relics to make her work. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. But that's it for me. The Qingchue video is still looming over, and I promise to release it sometime next week. My name is Kite, and I'll see you again real soon. See ya!